Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and welcome to My Dream for the Division universe, the latest installment in the My Dream series. I felt as though this is a good time to do this video primarily because we're in a major lull in terms of content from the Division universe. We've slid into the back half of 2021, and we're all now and have been eagerly anticipating Division 2's new content, which looks to be on track for, and I predicted will release by December of this year. Beyond the Division 2, we also have the Division Heartland, the third ever game under the Division IP, Division's first venture into the free-to-play market, and arguably the crown jewel atop this Division universe pitch. Instead of Massive Entertainment, the project will be led by Redstorm, and it definitely has a lot to live up to. After Heartland, we have the fourth game under the Division IP on the way in the form of the Division Mobile, as well as other transmedia content scheduled for 2022, like a new novel, as well as the Netflix movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain. So there's a lot coming, and for me personally, it's all incredibly exciting. The Division was a game I reluctantly pre-ordered off of a friend's recommendation back in 2016, and from the moment I logged on and day one, I knew it was going to be a special experience. I could have never imagined that 5.5 years later, we'd be at the precipice of an expansion to that game's universe, unlike anything we'd ever seen before, but here we are. Now, it's important for me to say we haven't seen any of this yet. A lot of people are banking on this universe's failure, and I've been called a fool countless times for stating my excitement, but come on, anyone who knows me know that I don't back down to potential, and I don't think the Division franchise has ever had quite as much potential to unleash as they do right now. If Ubisoft can nail this expansion, I think it could mean big things for the IP, and so because I'm the cheesy guy who has a series titled My Dream on his YouTube channel, and because I truly want and hope that this universe can succeed, I'm here to lay out my ideal vision and ideal scenario for how the Division universe can expand, evolve, and prosper. I'm going to break this video down into a few different sections, a few of those being my overall view on the importance and distinction between every upcoming game, a reiteration of a previous idea I've mentioned of how I would connect all of these different titles, I'll list off a few dream projects that I think would be cool to see, and I'll wrap up with where I see the Division universe being in 5 to 10 years down the line. That sound good? Alright, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's dive in. Beginning with a message that I feel is very critical to spread in regard to all of these future Division universe projects. That being, I feel that it's vital for this universe's success that it diversifies the types of games and transmedia content it produces. What do I mean by that? I mean that I think each spin-off and new experiment they try out needs to obviously stay true to the world and lore of the Division, but take new risks and introduce new features and gameplay options that aren't available elsewhere. While I can't elaborate whatsoever, Heartland is already fulfilling this, and I'm very excited because of it. And I think this is such an important thing to do because it does nothing but increase the potential for your audience. If every future Division spin-off and venture plays and is structured like the Division 1 and 2, then people who don't like the Division 1 and 2 aren't going to care. They're not going to try it out. If you want to build a successful universe for any property, then you have to keep the audience expansion in mind, and I think this is a quintessential step to ensuring that. Now, the only exception to this in my mind is the Division 3, whenever it releases one day down the road. It's called the Division 3 for a reason, because it's continuing upon the story and structure from the first two games, so I would fully expect and hope that they keep that game an RPG looter shooter with mixed PvP and PvE elements. I've seen many people say the Division 3 should be a strictly story game with no RPG elements. I've seen people that say it should have no PvP whatsoever, and I've seen some say it should only have PvP. But guess what? The brilliance of now having a Division universe is that there's room to explore all of these different options without sacrificing the tradition and potential of the third entry in the mainline series. People are going to wait for the Division 3, but in the meantime, you now have the freedom to explore different options in different styles of games. Heartland is going to be a very different model, being free to play and being developed by Redstorm, which is a good sign that it'll involve PvP. Mobile is likely going to do its own thing. Tower defense is a pretty stupid illustration, but trying something more fit for the mobile platform in the world of the Division would certainly be a welcomed experimentation. Maybe they do a Last of Us style story game. I'd be so down for that, and I'll also revisit this idea later. But ensuring that each entry into this universe has its own distinct artistic style, gameplay definitions, and overall identity is crucial in ensuring you have a rich portfolio of content that has the best chance of appealing to the widest audience possible. Some people are only going to play mobile. Some people are only going to play the Division 1 DZ and Heartland. Some people are only going to watch the Netflix movie. That's okay. You can't please everybody with everything. What matters more than anything in a situation like this is increasing the recognition and popularity in the brand. And by diversifying each of your projects, that can only help in doing so. Let's move on to another critical component of the expansion of this universe, and that's keeping everything linked together. I presented this idea in a previous video, but I want to reiterate it here because I think it does have a legitimate relevance to the potential of expanding and growing a successful universe, and that is the idea of the Division network. If you watched that previous video, you'll know where I'm going with this, but if not, let me give a brief overview of the idea I presented. In simple terms, the Division network would be a cross-game infrastructure that would assign you a singular identifier as a Division agent and then would track your stats and achievements across all the games within the Division universe, the Division 1, 2, Heartland, Mobile, and any future entries. You could customize your network profile in any of the games and then have that customization reflect in any of the others. And this unique profile would allow you to add friends, see which games people are playing, see what their playtimes and achievements in each of the titles are, and perhaps more importantly than anything, by having every existing and new player sign up for the Division network, it'll instantly and clearly display to them what the full range of Division universe projects are. Maybe someone pops in Division 1 for the first time after buying it for $5 at GameStop, and suddenly they see, wow, this has an entire catalog of other games if I end up enjoying this one. Furthermore, you could have a list of all the other transmedia offerings within the universe, stuff like the movie, the novels, whatever else releases could be listed on there and be a great point of subtle promotion. Overall, it just feels though having some sort of link between these games would be a really great step in strengthening the brand's success and recognition. These games have already been and can be successful and popular on their own, but linked together, they'd be even stronger. Alright, with that down, I want to now go ahead and discuss some potential projects that I think would be cool to see in the Division universe. One that I mentioned earlier, and one that I think a lot of people would agree might be cool to see, is a dedicated story game, in line with something like Telltale's The Walking Dead games or The Last of Us. There's a lot of possibility and a lot of freedom that any potential developer would have to make this a really cool experience. If you've read the Broken Dawn novel or listened to the more recent Hearts on Fire, then I think those are perfect examples of types of unique stories a game in this genre could tell. You have the room to make up practically any story in any location you want to and just string the player along with it. I think having a type of game like this that involves crossing the US border into Canada for something, for some certain mission or something like that could be really neat. Not only would it be our first time outside the US and the franchise, but if they want to set the Division 3 internationally one day, this could be the perfect opportunity to lay the groundwork for what the status of foreign nations currently are, beyond what we're given in the Langley ports in the Division 2. Another one I'll pitch might sound similar at first, but I think it is distinctively different from the one I just described, and that would be another story game, but this time following more of a Firewatch type of game structure. Now, the important difference between a game like The Last of Us and a game like Firewatch is that whereas in Last of Us you're going through a very scripted experience, there are dedicated chapters, sections, and story beats and story lines to follow. Now, it's not like Firewatch doesn't have those things, but what it does have is a much greater emphasis on the exploration of this beautiful environment and landscape, and it cleverly uses that to create immense suspense and almost self-induced horror and paranoia. And I think there would absolutely be room and the demand for a third-person Last of Us level scripted thriller of a story game and a much quieter and reflective first-person game akin to Firewatch. Having the former take place in a variety of locations including urban spots, and then the latter really be about a Division story out in the wilderness, whatever type of crazy mission or story might take place out there, would be really cool. So those are two different types of projects that I think could definitely be neat to see sometime in the future of the Division universe. One very last one I'll throw out is one that I think some people might find a bit silly, but I swear to you that ever since that fake leaker leaked that Division 2's Year 3 game mode was going to be similar to Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, except with hunters and Division agents, I just cannot get that concept out of my head. For the record, I don't see there being any chance that that is the Year 3 game mode, and I don't think it would even really fit that well with what the Division 2 needs right now, but that doesn't mean it's not a fun idea. If nothing else, having something like that be some tiny incubation project for new hires at Massive to work on, and maybe it sees the light of day someday down the road, I think it'd be pretty fun. Alright, now before we close this out, I want to look way into the future and give my perspective on where I see the Division universe being at in the next 5 to 10 years, because if Ubisoft is successful with this expansion, that's totally the type of time frame they should and most likely are analyzing for. I think their strategy is going to be to build this thing out slow and steady. Heartland is a big first step, and I think if they can sustain a good audience on there with frequent seasons and updates, then that'll begin to expand the brand. If this coming Division 2 update is received well, then I could totally see them continuing on with it for the months and years to come. I think all it really takes there is a good update and some IGN coverage saying this is the best older looter shooter back on the market, and its audience will regrow pretty fast, so let's see where that one lands. Mobile is also going to be a big step for the franchise. As insignificant or irrelevant as it may seem to some of us, mobile is one of, if not the top global gaming market. If they're able to produce a solid mobile title for the Division, then that could have effects on the popularity of the brand that we just can't even fathom yet. While I don't see the upcoming Netflix movie drawing in a ton of new players, I definitely think having a well-received movie for the franchise can only mean positive benefits, so I certainly hope that both that and the new novel end up doing well. But like I said, I definitely see this going at a pretty slow and steady rate. As much as you want to blame Ubi for trend chasing with Heartland and X-Defiant, you can't ignore that the plans for these games have been in the works for years. So even though they are trend chasing in a sense, they still plan these things out very meticulously. Depending on what's successful for the Division over the next year, I think that it'll be vitally important in guiding what kinds of future Division projects we may end up seeing. I certainly think we'll get at least 1 to 2 additional spin-off games after Heartland and Mobile, and depending on the transmedia reception, I think more books, film, and physical merchandise is inevitable as the Division tries to carve its name into pop culture. And then, at the end of the road, I think that once all of this groundwork has been laid and hopefully the Division brand is more popular than ever, then Massive will have concluded the bulk of its work with Avatar and Star Wars, and they can finally deliver us a grand, polished Division 3 game, one that if done right, can capitalize on all of this Division universe stuff and could lead to an unprecedented amount of hype, PR, and player base size for the game. And I think it could ultimately be pretty monumental, but in order to get to that point, and in order for Ubisoft to be able to expect that kind of attention and those kinds of returns, then they have to take the Division IP seriously, and they have to be calculated in their moves for expanding the Division universe. I have faith that the Division is certainly a strong enough brand and has a deeply dedicated community capable of carrying out such a feat, but ultimately we're just going to have to wait and see how they stack their cards and if they end up playing them right. And with that, I conclude my dream for the Division universe. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. We are truly at a precipice right now. The Division has never been in more of a make or break moment as it is in this moment. We have the opportunity to soar into success and fame or crash and tumble under its own weight. However things shake out, I will always be here to give my thoughts and talk about my favorite franchise of all time. So no matter what happens, I hope to be able to see as many of you there with me as well. Big things are coming, guys, and I can't wait to see just how impactful they may end up being. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.